David Singletary, independent candidate for governor of the state of Mississippi in the upcoming November 5th, 2019 election. Born and raised in South Jackson, 260 Carmel Avenue, right off Terry Road. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. I have 2 older brothers and 2 older sisters. My father's 93 years old. He's a World War II veteran survivor, served in the Navy over in the Philippines. I went to Lester Elementary School in South Jackson. I went to Peoples Junior High in South Jackson. I went to high school with Phil Bryant at Council 2 McClure in Southwest Jackson. And I went to Florence High School, also in the 11th grade, played basketball there. I got out of high school and went in the Air Force for 6 years. I served my last 4 years out here at the Air National Guard unit at Medgar Evers Airport while I was attending Millsaps College during the day and got my bachelor's in business degree. Once I got out of the master's program at USM Long Beach, I went into real estate and got my broker's license and bought my hotel in Biloxi, the Breakers Inn at 2506 Beach Boulevard. And owned and operated the Breakers Inn for about 10 years after we first legalized gambling in Mississippi, and was able to sell out in year 2000 and retire. I always thought that the whole reason you're here is to work hard your whole life and save up money, and hopefully you got enough to retire on in the future. Well, that's not happening anymore. People live from paycheck to paycheck. 40% of the populace owe more on their credit cards than they got in savings. 40% of the populace have a hard time raising up $400 for an emergency medical bill. So we need to get our house in order. We need to get our finances in order. I'm bringing you a brand new $6 billion industry. Colorado's making over $500 million a year in additional tax revenue off a new tax source. So I operated the Breakers Inn throughout the 90s. 2000, somebody wanted to come buy everything I got, so I sold out and retired. I never thought I'd be in Mississippi trying to legalize cannabis. I never thought I'd be in Mississippi and have to run for governor to bring a brand new industry to the state. I surely thought my leadership had my best interest at heart. I've never had such a hard time getting people to do something good for them. You understand? I chose to run for governor because the state of Mississippi needs me. That's all I can tell you. Prohibition doesn't work. My grandfather was shot and killed back in alcohol prohibition. I grew up during the 60s, during the Vietnam era, watched all the racial conflicts in the street. And marijuana has been an issue with the American people for over the past 90 years, and it's time to move Mississippi forward. I don't need a governor in my state house elected by me to share my concerns that does not represent my interest. Phil Bryant said, do not put another piece of legislation across his desk that has to do with the legalization of cannabis. Well, that made me start thinking that I don't need Phil Bryant as my governor if he doesn't represent my interests. If the state leadership of Mississippi is snubbing their nose at a $6 billion industry when the rest of the country is legalizing cannabis. Canada and Mexico have legalized recreational cannabis nationwide. So how do you expect to stop cannabis legalization at this point? It's time to embrace the industry like the rest of the country and move the state forward. It's not like we have a surplus of revenues. As far as myself, I'm a chronic pain sufferer. My pain doctor told me to get cannabis legal. I was doing the steroid shots and the opioid treatment before that, but cannabis relieves my pain much better than the opiate alternatives that are pushed down your throat by the doctor that are currently legal. Well, we need to keep Big Pharma out of the cannabis industry. We don't need Big Pharma to control our cannabis industry for us. We need people that have sick children and sick family members able to grow their own to treat themselves without having to pay $5,000 a month for a prescription. So It's going to relieve my pain and suffering. It's going to help people with cancer and Alzheimer's. It's going to increase jobs to the tune of over 30,000 jobs in 1 year. You know, it's going to help pay off our debt. It's going to help reestablish our credit rating. It's going to help fund education. It's going to let your kids get a quality education. I mean, it's going to help relieve the prison overcrowding population. It's going to keep young boys from going to jail and getting a felony on their record and ruining their future to where they can get out and get a job and contribute to society instead of being a burden on society. So there's really nobody in Mississippi that will not benefit from the cannabis legalization. Whether they use cannabis or not, they will benefit from the increase in revenues to fund the state agencies that the legislators are up in here every year bickering about how they're going to balance their budget and how they're going to fund all the agencies. Well, I'm bringing you a brand new revenue source and brand new tax revenue stream that you don't already have. You're not having to rob Peter to pay Paul. All of a sudden, you got money to reinvest back in Mississippi in the infrastructure and education and law enforcement and in the prisoner correctional facilities. So that's a few of the points why I'm running. Mainly no response at all. The mainstream news media, they're not covering me because they're only backing the Republican and the Democratic. I'm dependent on a grassroots effort from the people of Mississippi. Major networks aren't going to cover me because I don't have the money for the advertising, and they patronize the rich political party candidates because they have the money for the advertising. Well, I don't. I'm running a grassroots effort for you and giving you a one-time shot at legalizing cannabis in the state of Mississippi. And if you let me governor, we will put term limits on them. So I would say a vote for Singletary is a vote for progress. I know that zero tolerance is not obtainable in this country because the American people are drug crazed and enjoy their drugs. The war's been going on over 100 years and we're no closer to ending the war than we were 100 years ago. Sometimes it's time to call a truce. And if you can't beat them, join them. We need a new approach and new options available for the state of Mississippi to move this state forward. I appreciate your time and thank you for your help.